What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video I wanted to talk about my fitness journey. So I actually created a video like this a long time ago, but I feel like I've made even more strides in my fitness journey than I did back then when I recorded that video. So much has happened since then. It's definitely been quite a few years. I'm 26 now. I'm pretty sure I recorded that when I was maybe like 22 or something. Now I'm also a mom, so I just feel like a lot of things have happened, and I just wanted to do an updated fitness journey. And I'm gonna start from literally way back in the day and kind of go through and explain like the different phases of my journey. I can include some photos in as I'm talking from the past, and I'm going to talk about just everything. So sit back, relax, and grab some tea or coffee or a snack, and I hope you guys do enjoy this. I want to share this because I want to help some of you and kind of like let you know that you're not alone, and we all kind of start somewhere, and we all have different fitness journeys and have been through different things and different crazy things in our lives. And yeah, so and also I just wanted to help you guys too, like if you are in a place where you feel like you are either like consumed with fitness, or you feel like you'll never find a balance, like I've been there, and I just want to share that with you guys. So where do I start? Let's just say I'll start when I was a very small girl. I feel like I've always been really shy and self-conscious, and my earliest memory, this is going to sound really bad, but my earliest memory was when I was in elementary school, and I remember stepping on the scale and I saw that I was 40 pounds. I don't even know how old I was. Like, how old are you when you get to 40 pounds? Like, I don't even know. I just know it was in elementary school, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm 40 pounds. That's nuts. I know. Or maybe it was 80 pounds, something like that. Like, you know, I was just like, oh my God, I'm 80 pounds. You know, like, I don't even know how old I was, but it's just crazy that way back then, like, I even had a thought like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's just bizarre to me, but I do remember that. And then when I got to middle school, you know, most girls in middle school, like, or not most of them, a lot of them, I guess, started getting their periods and hitting puberty and things like that. And I was a really late bloomer. I didn't get my period until like ninth grade, I think, like mid-year of ninth grade in high school. But I do remember going through a phase in middle school when I felt like I couldn't fit into like my normal clothes, and I would go clothes shopping, and like clothes had always fit me weird, and I remember having to get like such larger sizes than I normally would get. And I just felt really self-conscious about that because I wasn't a 0 anymore. I wasn't a 2 anymore. I've really never been like a 0 or a 2. So even in middle school, I had troubles with that because, you know, you start getting a little bit more womanly, and, you know, you start like just growing into your own body. And I just always felt so self-conscious over it, and I felt like everyone was smaller than me. But, you know, I still ate whatever I wanted. Like, obviously I was in middle school, like it wasn't like that big of an issue, but I just remember feeling self-conscious. I was self-conscious over my small boobs because everyone was wearing bras, so I asked my mom if I could wear bras. I asked her to get me a padded bra because I literally had nothing, like no tissue there, and so she got me like padded bras to make, you know, whatever. And then once ninth grade hit, the summer between 8th grade and ninth grade, I literally grew from like 5 foot to 5'8", or 5'9". Like, I grew like 8 inches practically within a summer. And so I went to high school, and I wasn't used to me being so tall, and I just felt bigger than everyone. And I felt like my height, the fact that I just grew so fast, I just felt larger, like overall. I was just, because I towered over every girl, you know, I towered even over some guys, and like that's not super tall, but like in ninth grade, that's pretty tall for a girl, 5'8", 5'9", and I've been the same height now ever since. But I literally grew just a big chunk in that summer, and it just made me feel really self-conscious. It made me feel bigger than everyone. It made me feel especially bigger than all the girls, like the fact that I was just like way taller than them, and I still am. I'm still taller than most of my friends. It just made me feel like I was big, like overall, even though it was just being tall. And I really wasn't a big girl, I wasn't. But then of course I did get my period, and I started getting, you know, a little bit more womanly, and, you know, hormones kind of run through your body and things like that. And I guess I just started being more aware of my body, more aware of like the things that I was eating. And I was in cheerleading my whole life, so I stopped doing like the city cheerleading, which that actually kept me in pretty good shape like up until then, because we did a lot of conditioning. Like we ran around the track, we did lunges, we did like all like tons of exercise in the normal cheerleading. But then I started coaching, and then I started just cheerleading for my high school, and we didn't do as much conditioning, we didn't do as much workout type. So I just remember between that and then in 10th grade I started drinking. I know it sounds really, really young to me when I think back about it, but that was the first time I got drunk. That was the first time I started drinking alcohol. And where I grew up, like, it was pretty common for pretty much everyone started drinking. I didn't start drinking until like 10th grade of high school, but and then how old was that, like 15 or something, like 15 years old. And yeah, so between the drinking, like I just started, you know, obviously when you drink, like you consume a lot of calories, you consume like probably unhealthy food, like when you're drunk, like things like that. I definitely started, like, I gained a little bit of weight. And I think during this time too, my mom was like, oh, well, why don't you do Weight Watchers with me and come to the gym with me? So my mom was always pretty much dieting, and I started doing Weight Watchers, I want to say like in maybe 11th grade of high school. 11th and definitely my senior year, 100%. I started getting addicted to Weight Watchers, which was basically like you count your points, very similar to like flexible dieting and macros. And so I started doing that, but I was like obsessed with counting my points, and it was like I wouldn't eat anything unless it was counted in my points. But then I would still go out and drink, like binge drink. So very strange. But I just remember like trying to eat, like I started eating like, you know, those like lean cuisines and like things like that. And I started exercising a lot more. I started out mostly with just like the group fitness classes, and I was super just like self-conscious about seeing anyone at the gym. But that helped a lot, and I had applied to America's Next Top Model actually a few times, and I remember I went to a casting. I think I was in like 11th grade at this time, and I just, like, when I went to that casting, all of the girls were twigs, like, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but they were just really, really, really skinny, and I just wasn't like that at all. And so that made me feel really self-conscious, and I was like, if I ever want to be a model, I need to lose weight, I need to be skinnier, like that's that. So I tried to be skinnier, you know, whatever. And then I went away to college, and I was really binge drinking for sure, but I still was like kind of counting my points, but just still eating like low calorie foods. Like I just always ate low calorie foods, like really just not even like real whole foods. That's honestly the best. It was just like pre-packaged low calorie foods. But I was still binge drinking, and I would exercise, but it wasn't like very unhealthy yet. And I do remember too, in high school, sorry, I left this out. In high school, I was really afraid to eat in front of anyone. So I would bring a granola bar, maybe, and that's it. And that's all I would eat all day. And then I would come home and pretty much just like overeat. Like, but I think through middle school and high school, I was just afraid to eat in front of anyone. Like, it was just like, nope, I would never do it. So I would eat like a granola bar, something super easy to eat, something quick, something where I could just like, I wouldn't have to spend a lot of time eating. And then I would come home and just like, I'm not gonna say binge, but I would like definitely overeat like a lot because I was starving myself all day. And that just obviously was not healthy. And I don't know why I was afraid to eat in front of anyone. I was just always self-conscious over my body. And so I'm like, I can't let anyone see me eating. Like, no way, no how. So then finally I went away to college. I pretty much did like Weight Watchers like the last 2 to 3 years of high school. Went away to college. I kind of still did it, just focused on eating low calorie foods and like kind of like just trying to restrict my nutrition, I guess, like restrict my calories. But I definitely gained the freshman 15 because I was drinking a lot and I probably ate more than normal. you know, especially when you go out and you get drunk. I'm not proud of that, but we would like, you know, eat pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning, come home and like just like literally practically eat everything in sight because I was wasted, and that's that. So after consuming thousands of calories, or hundreds and hundreds of calories, probably thousands of drinking, then I would come home and eat like pita pit and pizza and whatever it is at 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was my first semester of college. And then I actually have talked about this before. I got arrested. It was a really dumb story, but that kind of like changed my whole path in life, and I decided like I'm stopping drinking. I started smoking weed instead, and this actually made me a lot healthier. I got better grades in school. This was my second year of college, or my second semester at least, because I started in the summer, I got arrested, then I went back in the fall. So in the fall and then the next year of college, I was also a vegetarian, by the way, like all throughout high school. Or a pescatarian, and then I started eating meat, and this is when I started eating more whole foods. I started cooking like my own meat, I started cooking vegetables, and like I kind of got rid of all of the processed foods. And I had reapplied to America's Next Top Model, and my mom I love my mom, but she made a comment and she was like, Brittany, if you're gonna be a model, you gotta lose some weight. Because I did gain the freshman 15, and of course I was like, holy shit, she's right. So this was when I was like, if I don't want to go out drinking anymore, I'm gonna get ripped. And this is exactly what I said. I'm gonna get ripped. And so I started eating better, started eating more whole foods, and I started losing weight really fast, really fast. I also started running more and exercising more because I was like, I'm not going out. Like, if anything, I'm just gonna smoke weed in my dorm room after I'm done like doing my homework and stuff. And so that's what I did. And honestly, smoking weed and not going out and getting hammered all the time did increase my grades. I just got a lot healthier because I started focusing on eating whole foods, on healthier foods, things like that. So then things kind of like spiraled, and like I said, I lost probably 15 pounds within a couple months. It was really quick. And I decided, I'm like, you know what? I've always hated running, so I'm going to force myself to love running and to be a runner. I'm going to try something different. And so that's what I did. I started running long distances, and this is kind of what started my unhealthy and restrictive phase of my fitness journey. So I started running long distances, and I hated it at first. I fucking hated it, and I was like, oh my god, this is awful. But the more I did it, the more I liked it, which I feel like is like a lot of things, you know, like if you hate wine and you drink it more often, you'll probably end up liking it eventually. So that's kind of what happened with my running. Eventually I started liking it more, and then I also got addicted to, like, I felt like I had to run a specific amount of miles a week. So I had to run a specific amount of miles a day. I would go and do a group fitness class, but also like do at least 30 minutes of cardio before and after. Even if I did an hour spin class, I would do at least 30 minutes on top of that. So I was working out for at least like 2 hours a day, or even more. And then this is when focusing on how skinny I could get and how low I could get the number on the scale. So like I said, I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym. I would almost go to the gym like probably twice a day if I didn't get all of my minutes in. I had to make sure I did a specific amount of minutes on cardio a day, plus weightlifting sometimes. And then I would only eat like really clean foods, like, you know, chicken breast, egg whites, vegetables, just very restrictive. I wouldn't eat anything from a package practically. I think I did sometimes, but like I started getting stricter, or I think maybe I just started restricting my calories mostly. So I started seeing how low I could get the number on the scale, and this was when like I said, I was running long distances. I was training for a half marathon, and so I think like when I went away to college and I gained the freshman 15, I was like 145, because I'm 5'8", 5'9". I was pretty much maintaining like 130, 135 in high school, which isn't a lot. I had no muscle. Then I was about up to 145, and then I lost weight, and I got down. I remember my lowest weight was 118. And I would weigh myself like 10 times a day. Anytime I looked in the mirror, I had to lift up my shirt and check my stomach. And I was like crazy when it came to food. Like I would never eat out. I would make all of my own food. If my mom like used a drop of olive oil in the food that she was making, I wouldn't eat it. It was very just like very unhealthy, very restrictive. I would never drink alcohol. It was just very, very unhealthy. And I pretty much was just like seeing how low I could get. I also didn't get my period for 2.5 years. I had hypothalamic amenorrhea for 2.5 years because I was over exercising, under eating, doing all of that nonsense. And it was just a very isolating time in my life. Like all I did was make sure I was eating my own food. I would never go out. I really didn't have a life. I made sure that I was exercising, you know, X amount of minutes, X amount of hours per day. And like I said, I was constantly checking to see how low the weight was getting. And I still felt like I wasn't thin enough. And at this point I was like a 00, maybe a 2. And I loved like how skinny I was. I was like, I'm finally one of the small girls, but I still felt like I had more progress to make. I guess after this time went by, I remember my mom being like, you look really tiny now. And I was getting comments, like I had comments being made like how skinny I was and how like if you look back at pictures, like my arm was like the size of like my freaking forearm now. Like my whole arm is like, I don't even know. I was just tiny. I had no muscle. I had barely any body fat, no period, barely any energy. Like my hair didn't look good. Like it was just not a great time. And then I started seeing like different bodybuilders like Jamie Eason, Amanda Latona, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love how they look. And I started getting really burnt out with running. I started dreading my runs. I started just like practically passing out, which I don't blame myself because I was running on barely any food, trying to do half marathons practically. But I knew I wanted to run a half marathon, and then I was like, after I did the half marathon, since I'm so burnt out, I want to look like Jamie Eason and Amanda Latona. So this is what started like my bodybuilding type fitness part of my fitness journey. So I ran my half marathon. I did it actually in like 2 hours and 17 minutes, which I was super proud of, but I was like, fuck that. I'm never running a half marathon ever again. I'm never running a marathon. Like I'm done with the running. And so I started doing Jamie Eason's Live Fit Trainer, which was like a 12-week beginner trainer thingy. And this is when I fell in love with lifting. It was like something just like clicked with it. I loved running, but like it still was just always like not, it just didn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like it just wasn't like, I wasn't a naturally born runner. I just wasn't. So I started lifting and I absolutely loved it. But then, you know, she talks about eating clean. So this was when I started, like literally I would only eat clean food. Like I ate pretty healthy before, but like this was when I really would only eat clean food. I barely would eat anything from a package. It just got really restrictive. I had to meal prep every week. I would eat out of Tupperwares, you know, like I wouldn't go out to eat, you know, same thing. If olive oil, like no, it was like I started eating more food, which was good. And I started lifting weights and doing less cardio because I wanted to build that muscle. But I was only eating clean foods. And I remember I got my first boyfriend, and like the first person I fell in love with, and he would always go out to eat and I wouldn't eat with him because I started tracking macros during this time. I wanted to make sure I hit my macros. I would eat like egg whites with peanut butter, like it's just like really weird stuff. It was just very like, I would never let myself live. Like I would have coffee with like no creamer or like fat-free creamer or something like that. It was just very like only clean food type things. And I was in a different college at this time, and I was still pretty tiny. Like when I first started lifting, I was tiny because I'd just gotten out of running. I was like, I'm gonna bulk. So I started trying to bulk and eating more, but it was still very restrictive. And restrictive in the sense that like I wouldn't allow myself to eat foods that came from a package or go out to eat or things like that. But I did started gaining a little bit of weight, healthy weight. I started getting my period more. So it was a little bit healthier in the physical aspect, but mentally definitely wasn't as still healthy enough, or at least where I'm at now. So that happened for a while. And then I started researching about flexible dieting. Found Layne Norton, and I knew I wanted to compete in a bikini competition, but I knew that I wanted to get my mind right, and I knew that I wanted to be in a healthy place physically and mentally before I prepped. So I felt like I really made a lot of progress, like physically, like gaining weight, eating more food, things like that. But I really wanted to compete. So I was like, you know what? I want to figure out this flexible dieting thing so that I don't get like this bro coach and this bro bikini prep and kind of fuck up my life type thing. So I found Layne Norton, and I found my first coach, who was one of his really good friends, and his name is William Grazione. And he really, like, him and Layne with flexible dieting really just changed my life. I started counting my macros, and I started allowing myself to eat foods that I never ate before, like bread and cereal and just like things that came from a package. And I still think that, you know, whole foods are the best things to fuel your body with. But when you don't allow yourself to eat anything, like chocolate, even like I eat chocolate daily now, freaking like popcorn and like, you know, I eat anything that I want now, and I'll get there. But I finally allowed myself to eat things that were, you know, came from a package, or just like listen to my cravings, you know what I mean? But I was very macro focused. I did my first bikini show, and I lost weight really easily. Like I still was eating whatever I wanted. I got low calorie, like let's say like 1,200 calories, but that was only like the last month. Like my body just responded so well. After my first bikini competition, I got a boob job, and I felt like I maintained my weight pretty well after my boob job. And then I remember I tried to prep again, and my body was not responding as well as it was before. So I dropped out of that prep. I was eating more food. I think I was maintaining at like 2,100 calories, like not exercising after my boob job, which was great and I was tiny. I was like I want to say I was like 128, 130 at right after my prep, because I was on stage at like 126, which is still pretty low for 5'9". But I had like barely any body fat. But I know I did it in a healthier way. So I started reverse dieting, and I reverse dieted pretty well. I reverse dieted my calories up, and then I think I remember trying to prep over and over again, and like my mind just wasn't right. And I felt like it was really hard for me during this like bikini prep phase, because I would like, you know, you get so caught up in the prep and like how lean you are, and then once you start reverse dieting and you start like gaining some weight, you think you're like a giant, basically. You think you're like so you know, you're gaining so much body fat, but like you literally gain like nothing. And it's just like, it kind of like messes with your mind to see yourself that lean, and then to start eating more. It's just like a really big mind game. And then there were a lot of times where I was like, well, I'm so burnt out on tracking macros, like I want to try to eat intuitively. And anytime I started eating intuitively, I started just feeling out of control. And I was like, I feel like I'm never going to get out of this cycle of bikini prep, trying to reverse diet, trying to intuitively eat, fail, go back into tracking macros. Like I was in that cycle for a while. Then I started prepping again. I think I did my second show finally when I was like, it was when I was in Colorado. So, when was that? I think my first show, it was 2014. My second show was 2016. So it was 23 and 21. First show was 21, second show was 23. So my second show, I was not as lean as I was. I started having like really like, I just started struggling mentally. I felt like right before then, I started doing a lot better with trying to eat intuitively. You know, I allowed myself to eat out more. I moved from Florida to Colorado, cross country. Like I just felt like I was in a good place, but I did feel like I wasn't 100% happy with my body, I guess, and I still wanted to prep, I still wanted to compete. And I remember when I first started competing again, I was being coached by William again, and I remember in the beginning of my prep, I started having a mental breakdown, and I was like, Coach, I don't know if I can do this, and he's like, let's take a break. We took a little break, came back, and then I was like, you know what, I'm ready to kill it. So I really tried, but this prep was so hard. My body was resisting so bad. It was just like, I really had to dig deep, and it came to the point where I was like I was doing a lot of cardio. I was on barely any calories for months. I remember I was doing like so many depletions because my body just wasn't responding, and it came to the point where like I didn't even want to move out of bed other than doing my cardio, doing my workouts, and it was really hard for me. And at this time too, I was in a full-time internship, I had my own business, and I was a part-time social media manager for another company. So I had so much going on. I had no energy. I felt like I had no energy to like give to anything else. But this was also the time that like I was making the most money and like really flourishing in, you know, getting my business started, or getting my business on the ground running. But it was a point where I was like, I was in a new city, I was single, I like didn't like, I remember going on a date with my ex, and I came to his house and I weighed out my steak, and I was like, I was just thinking about it, and I was like, you know what, like I'm young, I want to live my life, and I just felt like I couldn't even walk the dog. And this one, I got an Australian Shepherd to go on hikes. I had no energy to even walk the dog around my neighborhood because I was on such little food. I was on like doing so much cardio. I was like literally practically passing out walking him, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I was like, I'm gonna finish this prep and then I'm done. So I think I posted, my YouTube was doing really well during this time too, because a lot of my followers came from bikini prep. And I'll post the video about where I talk about why, like how I felt, you know, I was like, am I going to compete again? Am I going to go to nationals if I re-qualify? And I was like, I want to see how I feel on stage. So I competed, and like, I love being on stage. I love the rush. I love it. It's so much fun. But I was like, this just isn't worth it to me. Like, I didn't feel like I was being called to the national stage. I was just like, I feel like there's so much more for me and so many more things that I could be doing in my life than weighing out my food on a date, or, you know, like not even being able to go out and be young. I was 23, you know, and so I decided like I don't want to compete again. So I started reverse dieting, and there just came a point where I just stopped tracking macros and I just started living my life. And it was so freeing. It was so great. I remember visiting my friend in Chicago. I ate what I wanted. We went out, we got drinks. Like, I started dating again. Like, it was fun. And I was like, you know, I started doing really well in my business, focusing on my like coaching clients, focusing on producing content, and just like focusing on living my life. And it was just wonderful. And then this is when I decided to move to LA. And when I was in LA, I felt like I was, you know, in a good place too. But I remember I gained a little bit of weight, like really nothing serious, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna prep again, because this is just always what I fall back to. I was like, all right, I'm gonna prep again, I'm gonna track my macros, so on and so forth. So I started trying to prep again, and because I had, like I said, I had gained a little bit of weight. I think I started doing birth control or something, and I was also alone in LA, and this is the first time that I lived completely alone with no roommates, nothing. And I don't know, I didn't love LA, and I kind of felt depressed and anxious. I didn't have many friends there yet. I didn't really like, you know, I was trying to be an actor. I didn't know what I was doing again. And I was trying to model, trying to act, and I was like, I feel like I need to lose weight again, like, you know, just the same old nonsense. So I was like, I'm gonna prep again. So I started prepping and started tracking macros. And then this is when I met my now just recent ex-boyfriend / baby daddy. And he's in the fitness industry, and he's pretty lean year round, but he has such a healthy relationship with food. It was just admirable. Like, I admired him, how he could, you know, be so comfortable with his body, so confident, like stay lean and be like like love his physique, but still like enjoy food. Like he loves food more than probably anyone I know. And it was just like, I was like, wow, you know. And I remember competing, and he'd always be like, why do you want to compete? Like, you know, from a business, I'm like, well, you know, it does well with business, and like I enjoy it, and I like being lean, and blah blah blah. And he's like, well, you know, like he's like, you don't need to do that. You know, he's like, you don't need to do that. Like, he's like, I'll support you with whatever you want. So I started prepping, and my body was not responding. And I remember, like, I just kept cutting calories, kept increasing cardio, and nothing changed. Nothing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm over this shit. You know, I'm in a new relationship. Like, he wants to go out to eat all the time. Like, I felt like you know, we wanted to meet up with friends. Like, we were in LA, like, you know, and then I would come up to NorCal, and, you know, it's just like fun. And I was like, you know what, fuck this. Like, why am I doing this again? Like, I said that I was done with this, like, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I feel like I'll never be able to just eat intuitively, enjoy my body just like Matt does, you know. And I was like, I don't know why I can't ever get there. Like, I just feel so discouraged. I feel so like hopeless almost, you know. Like, why am I the only one that seems like I can't just live my life and eat what I want, but, you know, eat right, and then be confident with my body and have a physique that I love, you know? So I remember I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to stop tracking macros. I'm going to try to eat intuitively. And I think like, this was the first time I really succeeded, because I think I started by just, weighing out my food, but I don't know, how did I start this? I think I started by just tracking like my calories and not caring about the macros. I would still weigh out my food, still track my calories. This is when I also started dabbling into intermittent fasting. I started fasting, and then I would also basically just track my calories, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna eat like normally, input the food at the end of the day, and see how much I have left over. So I started doing that, and then I basically got to a point where I started just weighing out the food but not putting it in MyFitnessPal. So then I didn't open MyFitnessPal, and I kind of like knew where I was at. Then from there, I just stopped tracking altogether, and I felt like I actually lost weight once I did this. I was intermittent fasting, I was eating what I wanted, and I felt like I lost weight. I was just in a really good place, and I felt like Matt really helped me through that, because I feel like watching him, like, just he eats intuitively, he like has a body that he loves, whatever, and I was in an amazing place, like mentally, physically, probably the healthiest I've ever been with both, and it felt really amazing. I was like, I'm finally where I'm at. You know, I'm finally in a really great place. Then I got pregnant. So I think I stopped my prep in like January, and I got pregnant in June. And so once I was pregnant, that really helped me too. Like, it was hard to see my body change, but it was really nice to like just eat 100% according to listening to my body. That was the last time I tracked macros, was January of 2017. And I have not tracked ever since. And it's amazing. And so I got pregnant, and during pregnancy I ate intuitively. I gained about 22 to 25 pounds, literally eating what I wanted. We went out to eat so much. I ate so much frozen yogurt, but I also ate a lot of healthy foods, like lots of smoothies, salads, you know, well, at least in the second trimester and stuff. First trimester I could only eat like soup, crackers, and I gained like 10 pounds in the first trimester. It was crazy. But after that, I just kept going with it, and I felt like postpartum, I lost weight, and I got to where I am today, just eating intuitively and listening to my body. I do intermittent fast often. I think with like when I first started breastfeeding, I wasn't, because I was starving at all times. Like, I was eating in the middle of the night breastfeeding, like, because I was so hungry. But I felt like all of that just really helped my relationship with food. And now that I'm a mom, I still eat what I want. I eat intuitively, and I feel like honestly my body looks better than it even did pre-pregnancy. I am in such a healthy place mentally and physically. Like, I'm not obsessed with food. I'm not obsessed with fitness. Like, I literally eat what I want, but I also know that it'll always be there. I think I've been in a point where I'm like, especially with prep, where you like just like I remember just eating out of peanut butter, and I'm like, it's almost like you think that you're never gonna be able to eat it again, and so you just like eat so much. But for me, I'm like, I can have like one piece of chocolate and be done, or like I can have like 2 handfuls of popcorn and be done, and it satisfies my craving. Now I truly intuitively eat, I'm truly mindful, and I truly listen to my body. And like I said, I feel like I am the healthiest I've ever been, physically, mentally. I feel like my body is looking the best it ever has, and fitness and food is not my life. And I literally thought I would never be able to get to this position and to get to this point in my fitness journey and in my life, but here I am. I think also being pregnant and being a mom, like it made me realize, like, yeah, I don't want to spend my life missing out on stuff. Like, I love going out for drinks, I love wine, I love dessert, I love pizza, I love sushi. Like, I love living my life, and I will never ever ever be so consumed with food and fitness ever again. Of course, like, I love my body the way it is now. Like I said, I think it looks the best it ever has, but do I want to make progress? For sure. I want to grow my lower body, I want to make, you know, get more muscle, I want to, you know, I still want to look good, but like overall wellness, like I'm at 10 out of 10, you know what I mean, like with everything. And I'm so proud of myself with how far that I've come. And just know that, like, if you are in a similar position, or were in a similar position than what I was, you will get through it. And it's going to take time, it's going to take practice, and you're not always going to be perfect. I overeat sometimes, I undereat sometimes. You know, it's not a perfect journey. Progress is not linear, but just know that you can be there, and you can get to a healthy point where you're happy with your body and you're just living your life. And I always say that the healthiest body is the one where you can easily maintain it, where you're happy and confident, but you're also just easily maintaining without restrictions, without tons of exercise. And I feel like I've found my happy place, and I'm so happy that I finally have gotten here. And on that note, if you are struggling with any type of eating disorder, binge eating, overexercising, anything like that, please see a professional, because that is the number one thing. The number one thing that you have to do. Those things require medical attention and require you know, the help from a doctor, not anyone else. Not me, not any other YouTube influencer, not anyone. No one else but a doctor. But you know, I've never been diagnosed with a eating disorder or anything like that, but I have been through, you know, lots of ups and downs, which I think is pretty common, unfortunately. My self-esteem, my body image has always been shit, but now I'm like, you know what? Damn, I look great. You know what I mean? I don't have the best body. Yeah, some people think it's pretty average or whatever it is, and that's fine, but I'm happy, and that's what matters. Like, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be the most muscular. I don't have to be the most ripped. I don't have to be, you know, I'm me, and that's the most important. I'm healthy and I'm happy. And again, healthiness looks different on everyone. It does. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this really long-winded fitness journey. But I just wanted to share it with you guys because, like I said, we all go through stuff. And I've been in a place where I thought that I would never get out of it. You know what I mean? And you know, life is crazy and everyone has a different journey. Everyone's in different parts of their journey. But we all start somewhere, and we just know that you can be happy and you can be healthy and you can be confident and everything like that without, I always say, always, that fitness should enhance your life and not consume it. And just remember that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, please subscribe, and more videos will come your way. Bye guys.